Hi, I'm David S. Rose. I am a fifth generation serial entrepreneur turned third generation angel investor and first generation venture capitalist. I have been starting companies since I was 10 years old, and over the past half century, I have founded or funded over 100 companies, many of which are breaking new ground technologically speaking. As an associate founder of Singularity University, I founded the finance, entrepreneurship, and economics track. For the past 15 years, I've been looking at the effect of technology on economics, entrepreneurship, and work. And the results that I've found are fascinating. It turns out that all of this technology is going to affect entrepreneurs and work in ways that we can barely imagine because companies are going to be shrinking, jobs are going to be shrinking, technology will be taking over and producing the value that we need as humans to survive, and we are therefore on the way to a world without work. A productive world that is doing great things and helping all of us. And what happens to our society when technology can do anything a human could do better, faster, and cheaper? I'll be discussing all of this and delving into more detail about how we get from point A to point B during my talk, No More Companies, No More Jobs on the Way to a World Without Work, at the OpenExO Exponential Executive Program. I look forward to seeing you there and engaging in a really interesting discussion. The world as we know it has been a construct that has evolved over several millennia based on the need to create value, to supply the housing and food and shelter and things that people need to survive. And because of that, as technology has increased, we've moved from a hunter-gatherer society in which a person went out and got a mammoth or fished a fish or planted corn, to things where societies would form groups and people would do things together. Humanity began as individual people scrabbling for a living. Eventually, societies got people together into a group where they would collectively farm and collectively hunt. And then as technology enabled us to have more and more tools, we began to need to bring people together doing different roles to accomplish an end. And that's why companies got started. So companies have only been around for 500 years or so, but in that time, they were an economic vehicle to bring together the work of multiple people to a single end. And as a matter of fact, Ronald Coase got a Nobel Prize for his theory of the firm, explaining why companies existed and why they grew. And what we're going to do is we're going to trace the evolution of companies and show why they started small, got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then as technology has continued to expand, all of a sudden, Coase's theorem is working in reverse. And there is no longer a need for large companies. Instead, companies are shrinking and shrinking as technology does more of the work, and fewer people are required to make that technology happen. And so eventually what is going to happen is we are going to see companies shrink and ultimately shrink out of existence, because you can now do things with a few people that would require hundreds of people in the past. And what happens to our society, to our work society, when you no longer need to have people working on the one hand because technology does that, and number two, when people are no longer able to contribute value, direct personal value of work, better than technology can. This is leading us to a world literally without work, and we are going to have to redefine for ourselves and our society what it will take and what it will mean to have a society where humanity, is engaged constructively in life, but not because it has to, not because it needs to create economic value, but because it needs to create personal and psychic and social value. And that is a challenging future that nobody has dealt with yet, because we have only just begun to realize the extent of exponential growth of technology and where this is leading us in a relatively few years. Companies are organizations of people that are brought together to apply capital to solve a problem and to get something done. And if you look at the growth of the value of human labor and the growth of the output of companies over the 20th century, it has been virtually a straight line. As technology has enabled people to do more and more, made us more productive, the value of worker wages has gone up. And it was virtually a straight line from 1900 to 1975. The GDP, the total value of our creations, was going up, and the amount that workers got paid to create that value was going up. And then around 1975, something very interesting happened. Growth continued. The GDP continued at its same growing rate, but the worker wage, the contribution of people to that growth, virtually flatlined. And what that shows us is that virtually all of the growth since then, over the last 25 to 50 years, the growth since then has been based on the value of technology and this exponentially increasing technology, and not the contribution of individual people towards that. And this is accelerating. We are going to see more and more value being created by technology because we are past the limit where individual people can contribute that much to it. And so what happens in our world where all this value is increasing, but it's being created by technology, and soon it becomes 80%, 90%, 98% of the value being created by technology? What do all those humans do who were employed in creating value? Well, they can no longer, A, contribute more than technology can to production, and they're no longer needed, nor are they no longer able to work. And we are going to be faced with a society where we have a world of abundance, as you have enhancements in energy and enhancements in manufacturing and production, and value is being created at an extraordinary rate, but it doesn't require humans. And humans can benefit from that value creation, but what are we going to do with our time? And the world in which we are going to be faced is a world in which people, with all of our skills and all of our humanity, are no longer going to be needed or able to work in the way that we have historically considered work. And that's going to be a fascinating challenge.